everybody. How's it going? We are so excited to be here with you all. And I just got a chance to spend about 40 minutes with the trainers too, and that was always like a magical time for me because I am a trainer at heart. For those of you, you got sore legs.
Oh, they're terrible, guys. I'm just walking like a dog.
She was walking like a penguin yesterday. Oh, that's
up here a couple times.
exactly. And yeah, it was just a great time being able to hook up with them. I love training. For those of you who don't know, I've done like 15,000 of these camps over the years. I think Daniel, Billy, and a few others got me now.
I know, Billy, where are you at?
You got to
I feel
be
like
up there, dude.
You might have surpassed him now.
It's Daniel and Leighton Bohr that keep going kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we just cherish this time with you all, to be able to really have connections and make connections. Some of you I've been on vision calls with lately, and Sammy, actually, while you're here, and Mark, I've known you and your family and you guys for a while now, and let's see, who else? I just met the Troy group, yeah, so we'll definitely be able to connect, and the rest of you that we haven't got a chance to really get one-on-one yet. Morgan and I have a cadence of really speaking with you all, whether it be from a market perspective or an individual one-on-one perspective, but you're going to get lots of touch points from us because we really want to make sure that that we know how much you all care about this brand, and we're so humbled and honored that you actually, it's surreal, it's like a dream come true that you guys actually care about this as much as we do, and we know that. Like it's non-negotiable for you like it is for us, and it's really powerful when you get a bunch of really smart, unstoppable people together. And then, I look at my job as like the maestro, just trying to make everybody work together as the ups and downs of the uncontrollable things start to happen to us. So that's just 2 cents off the top on why I love these meetings and Q&As. What, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just hello, everybody. I don't think I've officially been able to address the crowd this week. We kind of switched things up this time around. We usually have like a Sunday orientation, but I know some of you guys were in camp on Monday. But I'm sorry I haven't been able to officially welcome you until now. But I'm happy to see you guys here. As Devin said, we cherish this time, this hour that we get with you guys to answer any questions that you have about us, about the brand, about being in business with your spouse, about raising a family and being in business, about the vision of the company. There's really nothing off limits. So, we've got Isaiah here. We typically put this on a podcast. But if there's anything that we feel is not good for the public, we will remove it.
We're about 50%.
So please, my point is don't hold back, whether it's just like hiring, firing, recruiting, anything that you guys want to talk about. Devin and I have been through a lot in the last 10 years, right? We've started from opening our own gyms. I owned my own gym in Cornelius. He was in Huntersville. Obviously, we've merged and we're here now. But we've been kind of in every role, from a owner, from a trainer, BA, janitor,
I forgot to tell
COO, CEO, visionary.
At camp last night, I sold my first membership of 2023.
Wow, okay. So, salesman.
I was so proud of myself.
Not surprised.
I was up there just like, tell me why you're here.
Did you do anything today that you didn't think you could do?
Well, I didn't have to go that far because I was just closer on the first line.
Got
it
it.
Was one and done.
Got it.
It was great. I felt so good.
So yeah, with that being said, who wants to be the brave one to go first?
Just say your name and location just for the rest of the group, and then there's going to be some franchise partners, trainers, ops people that watch this potentially. So just reiterate. Anybody want to go ahead and kick it off? Because once one person kicks it off, then it just starts rolling.
I can go.
Anybody?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, Melanie Skinner, franchise partner at Burn Boot Camp in Ashburn,
I love
Virginia.
Your shades, by the way. Those
Thank you.
Yes, I need
Thank
the link to those, please. Okay.
Few of us have it.
All right.
Yes. So my question is just regarding like where in the future you see like the next potential issue for the industry as a whole, and what Burn and we can do individually to get out in front of it, of being prepared for that.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, so it's a question of anticipation, like what's coming down the line, and how are we preparing for it now? The answer is no one knows what's coming down the line, right? I mean, pandemic is a great example that just kind of literally came out of left field, and we had to manage it. Now that's the most extreme scenario, likely. So we feel prepared for whatever may come our way. There's been talks of a H2 or second half recession this year. Economy's looking good right now. You get mixed feelings on that. I'm in circles with like big investment banks and other CEOs and just people that I've communicated with to ask about like what's the forecast, what's the macroeconomic outlook of the industry. Everybody during the pandemic was like, hey, hold off. I'd get on like some CEO calls. They'd like do little circles about, what they're doing and issues and all that. And there was this whole theory of like, hey, the fitness bang is going to come back. Well, we just experienced that. Like, I think that's what people were talking about when, our highest month in promotional vouchers in history by like 40%, right? It was a huge wave. I mean, it added a ton of members back into our system. And I mean, you guys that are open right now can attest to this. It just revitalized, like it just brought energy back into the gyms after that lull period. And so, we're prepared for the worst. And we took that. We have a philosophy of trying to take the worst day and make it the best day. And so that's what we try to do is like, hey, when the pandemic happened, we stripped down our focus on franchise development and growth, and we reallocated that to the Burn operating system and the blue carpet experience and looking down and in and we basically took apart the engine of the car and then rebuilt it, during the pandemic. So we know how to take advantage of the times when they come, and we will not get pessimistic when that time does come. It's not an if, but a when. We will not get pessimistic. We held the line. Who remembers that? Right? We held the line. I asked everybody, hey, hold the line for this brand. Hold the line for your members. Hold the line for their families. Morgan and I, we were super like adamant about like, hey, step up and show up for your people. Don't cower when rough times happen. And so that going through that experience, I think calcified in the fortitude of the brand and also increased the confidence going into these times. So if there is a H2 recession, it shall be mild, should be. Who knows? I don't know. But nobody knows the future. But I know that when we stick together, when we continue to love on people through the tough times, and we don't recluse when we hit a wall, and we figure out together how to like get around it, that's what makes great companies great. There's a great book, and I'll leave them with this, just because I always like to have you guys go on it. Like that's the thread, right? Great by Choice, Jim Collins' book. Anybody heard of Jim Collins? He wrote Built to Last. He wrote Good to Great, which is probably his most popular one. Another one called Great by Choice talks about that it's a whole book on that very concept of anticipating the future.
So great question. Where my mind went automatically was the trends that I see, and I think we're going to be a part of this trend in a way, right? It's going to be technology, right? I think the pandemic forced us to figure out ways to connect with people digitally, right? In every industry. And that's not going to go away. That really just accelerated the need for that omni-channel approach of like, they can find you in an app, but they can also find you in gym. And so I think for us and for what you guys can do to prepare is we're not losing the core focus of what makes Burn special, and that is the community that we build. And so regardless if we're building an app, what we can do now to get ahead of any sort of recession or pandemic or technology is love on our people. So you always steal my words.
Well, we're like symbiotic, my dear.
We learned too in the pandemic that we loved so well on our people that they were willing to bet on us, and they kept their memberships and they stuck with us and they held the line too. And so I think the more we can lean into that and focus on building your community and doing exactly what we're really good at doing, loving on our people, showing more value than they can get anywhere else, and letting them know that this is a second home for them. Anything that happens around them, whether that's technology or a recession, they are invested in this brand too. So that would be my best advice. Yep.
Who's next? I can make one elaboration on that if you want. Okay. If nobody has questions, like we could just
he
keep
can talk the whole time.
threading.
Guys,
I
ask
go for
your
days.
questions,
yeah,
okay?
I can go for unless you just want to hear me up here.
Hi, I'm Sammy Woyak
Sammy.
from Middleton, Wisconsin.
Congratulations on the gym, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
So I have a quick question. I want to know, I know we kind of, I know a little bit about it. I want to know the vision and true purpose behind blue carpet certified gyms, how many do you foresee there being in Burn Nation? Do you see them taking the place of regional trainings, or like how does that look to you guys?
Yeah, that's a
Please,
great question.
please.
I can start there.
Yeah.
So what do we see the vision of blue carpet certified locations being? So just again, going back to how amazing I think our community is and how much you guys love all of our people, that franchise partner family that you guys have, you know, whether it's with us or not, you guys are a close-knit group and you want to help each other succeed, excuse me. And so for us, Blue Carpet Experience is another layer of our education model, right? You have Burn University, you have the BLP, you have regional training, you have summits, and then this is that other layer of Blue Carpet certified. I do not see it taking the place of Burn U, but I do potentially see it taking a place of some sort of a regional training, right? And the goal is to make that a lot more accessible to all of our locations if they only need to send like 1 or 2 people or a new employee, and it's within driving distance. That would be my ultimate goal. So when you talk about a number, I can't tell you off the top of my head what I want it to be, but what I do want is that every gym has about a 2 to 3 hour drive, not flight, drive to a blue carpet certified location where they can send their people for 1 day, 2 day, 3 days to get whatever gap they have that you want them to get externally and not through you. So that's the ultimate dream, right? Obviously, we're starting this year, starting small, testing this out. Shout out to Ashburn for being one of our blue carpet certified locations. I think I can say that officially. Well, I did here, so you just heard it.
All right, you ruined the podcast now. There we go. I spoiled the surprise.
So we're obviously very early in the testing phase to understand how do we support those locations to make sure that they keep the standard high and that they always know what's the latest and greatest things that we're tweaking about our blue carpet experience or our training product or any of our systems, so that what they're teaching is in alignment with us and it's truly an extension of us. Because if you go too quick on that, you get so much dilution, right? You get some people clapping and some people saying yes, right? That's just like a small example of how when you don't scale your education well and consistently, you have different locations doing different things. And so that's my end goal, Sammy, if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does.
And it's really for the in-between a little bit. The in-between, like I have an employee that I can't wait till regional training. I need them trained now. And so our goal would be to make that accessible to everybody.
The location's great because some regional trainings are 6-7 hours away to drive. So
Right.
That's really great.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last thing, the only thing that you left out that I think is important to touch on, if you don't mind, is just the fact that there's an economic model for the blue carpet certified location. There's an economic model around that. We all know that you have the greater good in goodwill in mind, but asking you to do something, give up your team's time and your time for free is unacceptable. And so, and also not sticky. Like this is a long-term strategy for us, and so the economic model around it is also very attractive in a time for dollar sense. It's not going to move the needle for your annual revenue, but in a time for dollar sense, it doesn't look bad on paper, and people are getting excited about that opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. That's great.
Brian Cartier. We are a Resale in Claremont, Florida. My question for you, for a resale, we kind of have our own plan that we've come up with, but for a resale, you're coming in, you're buying a resale, what's the first thing you do?
You wanna
Okay.
start?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So if I were buying a resale, one of the first things I would do is assess the team. That would be the 1, 2, and 3 thing I would do is who are the people you've got on the ship with you, and are they putting holes into the boat or are they rowing in the right direction? One of the worst things you can do is keep the wrong people in those seats for too long because, usually gyms are not successful because of 2 reasons. Either one, it's the leadership, right? Or remote ownership is tough, right? So it's leadership or it's the wrong people in the seats. So assess that first. And I know you guys are coming in with new leadership, and so it may not be the people that are there. It may just be that they needed to be poured into. So I'm not saying that they need to go and fire everybody. Let's just put that on the record.
No.
But that's where it all is going to start and stop, is with your team. So you guys can have the standards all day long, but if they're not rising to them and providing the value, providing the blue carpet experience, you guys are wasting your ad dollars bringing leads in. You know what I mean? So I would say that's the first thing you can do. Second thing you can do is make sure your community knows who you two are and get that energized back, get that energy back into the community that like, hey, we're new owners, we're here, we're excited to pour into this community. I would host some events so they can get to know you guys and just reinvigorate that energy. And if you are bringing new people on, make sure that you're getting, time to meet them as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I got one more.
Okay, number 3.
Burn operating system. We talked about this in our vision call, didn't we? But I think it's a good point for everybody is that this brand 5 years ago was a different brand than it is today. And a lot of times 5 years ago when we had a problem, we were fixing the plane as we were flying it. Now we have some time under our belt. We have a lot of smart people that have contributed lots of time and effort and energy into our burn operating system and ultimately ops manual. So the first thought for me, for you guys would be, hey, is it in the ops manual already? Because you guys are business owners, high-flying entrepreneurs, I know it. The natural inclination, right, is to, problem fix it, problem fix it, problem fix it. That's what we thrive on, right, fixing the problems. Well, a lot of those have already been fixed. So just make sure that you do communicate with your FBC, that you do know the ops manual, like follow the playbook. Yeah. And then here's what happens. Then you're going to run into a situation where the plays are going to work, and you step up and you look at the defense and you're like, audible, 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 because you found something in your community that forced the playbook to tweak, forced you to call an audible. Then you call your FBC and you say, hey, I had this situation where this thing happened. I followed protocol, went through the operating system, didn't have an answer. I didn't have time to call you, so I just made this, and now I want to tell you about it just so we're on the same page. So that's like the relationship that I really want to manufacture and have, and it's the one that I would say that at this point has always been this way, but about the vast majority have that relationship with HQ now, and I want it to be everybody. So yeah, it's the classic like, hey, let's build this thing together, right? It's a great question.
Yep, thank you.
Anybody else?
I know you guys got something, you're just not saying it. Come on.
Curiosity is the number one trait of leadership. People that are curious like to ask questions. Please, Brian.
All right.
Let's go.
Still Brian, still Claremont.
Is this Brian 2.0? Is this the metaverse version of Brian? Are we in the multiverse?
In Florida, I think a huge market of ours is as a retirement community. Would there be any way of, or maybe you thought of it or not, we have like a silver sneakers program, so to speak, for an older generation. If there's off time or anything like that, has there ever been any thought into bringing that demographic? Obviously, they're part of it, but as a soul class.
I just think it takes away from our brand ethos and the soul of really who we are. And you start to do too much of that stuff, then who are you really, right? If you drive by some of those kind of old school models, and not even old school in the sense, they're old school in my mind, but they're still everywhere. It's like they got like 10 window panes as you drive by them, and it's like kickboxing, yoga, Pilates, personal training, and then the last one is like a for lease sign.
Right.
Because those businesses don't last.
Right.
Right. And so what's made us is our target market, focusing on 25 to 45-year-old women,
Right.
and being able to serve that market better than anybody else, and the direct extensions of that market. So I'm on the same page with you in terms of the white space in the gym.
Right.
Let's fill that up with a kids camp. Let's fill that up with yoga. And those two programs, to me, are the ones that you're going to really fill in that white space, that are solving the problems for the member that we are already responsible for solving those problems. Club Pilates is a huge brand. They have 700 members. Those people belong there, or they belong at Gold's Gym in the Silver Sneakers program in like the back classroom, from my opinion. And I'll say this to follow up. I'm in love with our members. I'm not in love with our business model. So if for some unforeseen reason we have to make that decision because that was what the members, that would be what would best serve our communities,
Right.
and best serve the brand, well, then we can have that conversation. I just think that's kind of a far stretch.
Right.
And this might give you confidence. Naples, it's like our second home, right? I mean, same type of community,
Yeah.
right? Demographically, one of the best gyms in the country, and not a single one of them are over.
Right.
Maybe they skew older. They definitely skew older. But like, there's 57-year-old women in there, 67-year-old women in there. They're kicking ass.
Right.
You know, so it's hard to stay disciplined because
I
there's
just
so
heard
many,
of
so much
the,
opportunity.
and I didn't realize it before this, the elite program for the kids,
Yeah.
so to speak, the
Yeah, yeah.
teenage kind of speak, which resonates with me also. But and I have a lot of those that I think we could do. But in Florida, again, I just look around and see what I see.
Yep.
I see horrible driving, old and young together. And I'm like, how could no?
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, that's the demographic that we have there.
Yep.
So that was just a question. So
Yep,
I
and just,
understand
yeah,
what you're talking about.
perfect. Just always remember that. Keep the main thing the main thing.
Yep.
Right. Your bread and butter is those 12-month, 18-month memberships, and like until I'm at 600 of those, I'm not even looking left or right.
Yep.
Right. Because there's so much opportunity just sitting right in front of you. That, I don't think we need new opportunity until we get to that point where it's like, okay, what's next?
Got you.
Yeah.
I have a question. So 600.
You want to pass that? You want to pass that to Chelsea?
Oh, this is official.
Oh, well, it's officially
maybe you're on
unofficial.
time.
It's officially unofficial. I think you've been on camera like 5 times this week already, so.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Chelsea
Again,
Theodoropoulos.
back at you again.
I really came on here to be very informal. This feels very formal now. So you just mentioned 600 of those, meaning 600 memberships. And so my question is, how do you balance the financial health of a business, of getting more memberships for more revenue, for that profitability and overall success with the blue carpet experience? In your mind, what is the vision for capped number of members?
A capped number of members.
It's funny, we were talking about this.
We
the
were,
other day.
we were talking about this the other day because our gyms are getting big now to the point where it's not quite there yet, but it's on the cusp of being there. And we really you've been in some of our gyms. Like I went to Manchester and there was like 97 people and your gym is not that big there. There's a lot, maybe even more than that. There's a lot. And hey, if we want to have 1,000 members at some gyms and they're smaller like that, well, then we're really gonna have to figure it out. And there may be, a cap. There's a bigger cap here than there is at Manchester, just because of like pure space, right? But I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah. Well, because there's a difference between having, like, okay, so for example, in South County, I have a much bigger floating floor. So from a footprint perspective, I can fit a ton more members in there. But at some point, I'm going to lose the level and the quality of blue carpet experience because it's not possible to know every member's name and dog's name and how much they can bicep curl when you start pushing that many members. It's not our current problem. I'm just forward thinking. You
sure.
probably have this problem.
It was a problem here in
Yeah.
January, for sure. Like our 5:30 a.m., I'm sure you guys have experienced this too. Our 5:30 a.m.s were like this in there and 2 trainers, right? Like it was like 1 on 50. There's a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But it's also, and we need to maintain the integrity of the brand. We can't negotiate with the group personal training ideology. So this is something that like we are actively in that mindset right now of saying, what is the price per square foot, or what is the amount of member per square foot, both total and floating floor, and then what is the dollar per square foot on floating floor and total square footage of the gym? That's ideal. The technology that Morgan's talking about that we're running with, and we'll talk about it on stage at the Denver Summit, is a new franchise partner intelligence app that's built on top of Domo. And we're going to have much more intelligence into those types of things because now we have this operational data store that's aggregating all of that information and being able to spit out at whatever splice and dice that we want to. We've been working on NetSuite, which is a big enterprise financial software, to pull in underneath that to kind of stand it up. So AUP it's all a part of that same conversation. All these complex data points that are really hard to get with sparse technology are being dumped into a data store so that we can put a box around it and then spit out things like this. And right now we're in the phase of like, what are the questions that we're trying to answer? And that's a good one, and I don't know yet.
I think too, it really depends on sometimes the talent of the trainer as well, because like for us, as you scale, it's been, okay, if I'm getting on average 50 people at camp, I add a lead trainer or a lead 2 trainer, a support trainer. Then it's add more camp times. Then it's increase my pricing, right? So those are all control mechanisms to make sure that you're not outgrowing your space or the experience. But then from there, I think it's probably not an exact calculation of like how many people, because it also like we have really good trainers, right, that can connect in different ways than maybe others can't. So I think it's getting your pulse on it and understanding at what point is the member experience now being sacrificed because I've brought too many people into the gym.
Yeah, like what's our default position?
I don't think we've hit it upstairs, personally. I mean, that's not the feedback that we're getting. I think our experience can always get better, but it hasn't been worse because we've grown the gym. So I do think it's something we still have to consider, but I think it's kind of dependent on how people can execute the experience.
Yeah, we've noticed at Manchester, for example, we were hovering about 570 members. We're now at like 560, and we're like, that actually felt good, a little bit of breathing room. But being able to choose blue carpet experience first, and so we were very limited around our promotion, of course, because we only have so much footprint. So we choose blue carpet experience first versus quantity because we only have so many people, and then my trainers feel out of control that they can't deliver upon
Do
that.
what they want, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's felt like that number of 570 is like, we're squeezing.
And that's a smaller
that
gym,
might,
right?
that might be the
That's
cap
one
for
of your
you.
smaller
Yeah.
gyms.
Then the next
Yeah.
option, now you're looking at economics, is to up your prices. And if that takes you out of the market, well, you were forced out of the market potential or the market rates, right? Like you can go charge more than at 45 in Orange because you have no room left. You don't even want members, you know? Like, so if you want to join, if you want to be a member, you know, we did that at Huntersville. I was scared out of my mind to do it. The first time we went from 139 to 179, like overnight. Yeah, and I was nervous because, I mean, it was around the same time when Cornelius was starting to cook too. And I can remember being very nervous about that. But the economics on it are really beautiful. The downside, though, that sucks is like, now I'm impacting less people. You know, and like those 10 people, what if there's like one person in that 10 that I can't let in my gym that like really needs me?
Yeah.
That's the hard part, but.
Let's be honest, you were still slinging some $99 deals, I'm sure.
Well, back when I was BA and ops manager and janitor and trainer and all at once. Training people. 30 seconds left as I'm entering on contract.
Stop it. You were not.
Jen was doing that last night. That's still going on. Thanks, Jels.
Candy Cartier, Claremont, Florida. I have more of a logistical question. So for us, I would love to do this full time and have multiple units, but health insurance is a big issue for us as entrepreneurs. Is there any forward thinking into the possibility of maybe group insurance through Burn for FPs, you know, something where we could come together and do something like that?
I can take off the top, and then I know where
Sure.
you're going to go because I think that's the best way to stack it. So there's joint employer laws that are instituted by the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. That's the governing body of franchising. Okay, so there's joint employer laws that a lot of times don't allow us to do certain things, like enroll franchise partners into healthcare is one of those things. But what Morgan can talk about is like as we grow as a brand, some of those national partnerships that we look toward can be bodies like that, although we are currently hiring a COO to really focus on some of those bigger initiatives. That is on the docket of interest for us to be able to say, how do we the question we're trying to answer with all of that, partnership, people, culture type things are, how do we triple down on what makes us different? Okay, I'm gonna ask you to do an experiment right now. I'm gonna say one word, what makes us different? Everybody go, don't hesitate. One word, what makes us different? 3, 2, 1, go.
Culture.
I heard culture and community. One person said culture, everybody else unanimously unprompted said community. So if that is the ethos of the brand, then we need to not look for new opportunities, and we need to make that so far and distant away from what everyone else is doing with ideology like that. Also utilizing our on-demand to reach people in inner city and reach philanthropic endeavors in our communities and just get deeper into our communities and like truly be that community-oriented brand that's like caring about every little fiber of that community fabric. So I don't have a direct answer, but we're like in alignment synergistically in terms of where I want to go, and as I shifted into visionary and Morgan shifted into CEO, that's been a lot of the things that have been on my mind too, is really trying to put that. But what's that look like? Do you remember when Starbucks gave business loans to other businesses in their community? Starbucks did a community initiative where they wanted to help build small business in their community, and they actually started a financing arm in-house at Starbucks corporate that took distressed businesses and gave out loans for scholarships and started doing things for the community, not just doing it for Starbucks. And I think that's the next wave for us, is just getting people inside of our gym, like having more pride in getting out into our community.
Yeah, to be honest, that's the first time I've heard that from a FP as an FP need. But I think, as Devin mentioned, it's just building those partnerships, and as we do get bigger as a national brand, and then understanding how we can bring that in to serve not just the member but the FPs as well.
That's a great question. Anybody else? Anybody else? Nothing?
If not, we can.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is for Morgan specifically because I was a stay-at-home mom the last 6 years and now transitioning back into the workforce. And I just wanted your, what's one piece of advice you would give to, helping balance, the mom guilt and whether it's necessary or not, it's there.
Yep.
And just what your piece of advice would be for moms, entering back into this.
Yeah, I would, my best piece of advice for somebody, that is a stay-at-home mom going back into a career is to get really, really clear on what your priorities are and what your non-negotiables are. So obviously your kids are going to be your number one priority, but so is your business. But then go a layer deeper and understand what are my non-negotiables, right? Do I want to take my kids to school every day? Do I want to pick them up? Or do I want to be there at bedtime? What are the things throughout the week that fill you up the most, but also maybe fill your kids up the most from you? And then understand what that is. Once you get really clear on that, you can understand how to build your day, your week, your month, what to say yes to, what to say no to. So, of course, not every day is going to be perfect. There's going to be some times that you miss those non-negotiables. Well, you shouldn't, right? Because they're non-negotiables. But yes, life happens. I want to be home for my kids for bedtime and for dinner every night. But obviously, I travel sometimes, so that doesn't always happen. Or I have evenings where I have to go to dinner and wine and dine. So it happens where it's not always perfect, but I think when you can really set your priorities, you're going to be in alignment a lot more than you may feel right now. Because right now you're just trying to do everything for everyone. And so just get really, really clear and audit your time constantly. That's something I do where if you work off a calendar, I work off a calendar, but if you don't, actually take a week where you're auditing your time and you're understanding what are the things in the tasks that I'm doing every week and how much time is it taking, and then what are the things that only I can do that maybe I can delegate. And I think you'll find that you can free up a lot more time, condense your schedule, and get things done more efficiently so you can have more time with your kids.
I walked in on her asking Cameron the question, what is important for you, how'd you language it, what is important to you that mommy is at? And it wasn't the things that she thought they were. And we had a dance competition, and one of her friends' dads made a surprise visit because he felt guilty that he wasn't going to go to his daughter's dance competition. And she was so mad that he was there. Do not come to mom and my's thing and ruin our thing. How dare you, right? And so it's just a quirky example of.
Sometimes it's just asking your kids where is it important that I show up for you?
Yeah.
Because I think we also believe that we do have to be at everything for our kids, and I've had to break that mindset because I would be setting myself up for failure if I thought I had to do every drop-off, every pickup, every field trip even, as sad as it sounds sometimes, and I missed some field trips, and that was something that really bothered me. So then this year, I made sure I didn't miss a field trip.
Yeah.
So I think it's always ebbing and flowing based on the seasons of life that your kids are in, but also what's important to you both.
I would also say integrating your kids into your business.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Free child watch.
they're really excited about those bars.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're the most excited.
Yeah.
For them to see that is so important. Like I said,
Yeah.
my 15-year-old has started working in child watch, and he's just going in. He loves it. He's like, I'm going to work every day. I'm like, they see you more than they're seeing us right now. So
Yeah. I agree. I think that's such a great point. And I can only say this because I have never been a stay-at-home mom. I've had opportunity to do that if that's what I wanted to do, but the way that I feel like I can best contribute to my children is to show them by example what it means to, sacrifice certain things, work hard, take care of other people, be a leader of your life. These are the values that are the most important to me, and this is how I know to show that example. So, sometimes you just got to think 10 to 20 years from now. Yeah. And it's it might hurt right now, but are they going to thank me in 20 years when they're like, Mom didn't just tell me to do this, she showed me how to do it. Yeah. So, and I got that experience from my mom, so I always am able to relate back to that.
Good question. Okay, so we have, okay, go ahead.
I had to work up the courage.
Please.
Well, so my name is Missy Fellert. I'm brand new to Burn, not as a member, but I'm brand new to the team. So I'm marketing
Missy.
communications with St. Louis. So my question is more of the corporate partnerships. So my husband works for MasterCard. MasterCard's hub is No Fallon. As part of their wellness program, they have a list of businesses that they will pay, MasterCard will pay you $500 to go to these select gyms. How can we get Burn on that? It's no pocket out of Burn, like we don't have to offer a discount. The company provides the discount to their employee as an incentive for their wellness program. How do we get Burn on those lists?
Sounds like
for
you're the
those-
plug. We gotta get you.
Well,
We're too little. We need
we're too
yeah,
because
yeah,
like
yeah.
F45's on there, Orange Theory, and F45 is right in O'Fallon's
Yep,
backyard.
yep.
So like, how do I get into those we've got Centene and we've got Express Scripts, we've got MasterCard, like we've got big hubs in St. Louis. How do I can get into the smaller PEOs. I can't get into the bigger Fortune 500 companies.
Yes, it is on the roadmap, honestly. It did get bumped a little bit. I wanted to focus on it last year with my VP of marketing because it is kind of a marketing, PR, like community kind of task, I guess you could say. So it lives in my marketing space, but it's also, operationally. So I think with the addition of the COO, getting everybody up and out just a little bit more so we can go identify that next wave of like brand awareness and lead generation.
Because I liked those because they weren't out of any of the gym's pockets. Like we didn't have to
Right.
offer the discount. It was on the corporate side as opposed to on the Burn side.
Yep, absolutely, it's coming.
Yep. And synergistic partnerships as well, right? Fit Radio and Burn Boot Camp already have one of those, for an example. Like go get bigger. You can see like Mercedes-Benz and TikTok just did one, right? Now Mercedes-Benz are gonna have TikTok installed on their screens. Like we need TikTok to chase us anywhere else.
Yeah.
So this is like the new wave is these big brand synergies. And yeah, I'm excited to really be able to dive into that with some resources.
Any more questions? One? Okay. Yeah.
You're doing great. Vanna Leslie.
Hi, Rebecca Bachman, Bear
Yes.
Creek, Colorado. Mine's about expansion. So, I was at Summit, Love to the Moon. On Monday, you mentioned 10,000. Love that. I just noticed in one of our, and I should have known this a long time ago, I just didn't, like the global health transformation, right? So, thinking internationally. My husband and I travel internationally for work, pleasure. So, when's the first one? And we're in. No, I'm just- like, is there plans already? Like, is that on the map?
So the vision really is, so I threw up to 10,000. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to know I wanted everyone to know that we're in this for the long haul, right? And that, hey, we make decisions differently if we're going to 10,000, if we're going to 500. We're currently at about 515 awarded units. We just finished our inventory project that's gonna be coming out with all of the just different insights to that. We contracted a company called Site Zeus, which is like an AI consumption model for real estate. And we're really excited about what that returned for us, and are currently, Morgan and some of her teams are kind of packaging that up right now. So we're keeping the main thing. There's this thing you're going to hear a lot about called world-class unit economics. That means the number one spot from a ULE standpoint, level economics, number one spot in fitness franchising. We project at about 500 units open. Is that when that will happen? When we have the top spot domestically and cross 500 units, I will be turning my personal attention to international development, doing so through area development agreements the same way we do here in the States to start, right? Potentially, don't quote me, but maybe dropping a HQ gym as a showcase, building some area development agreements around that, potentially some master franchisor agreements that would be like teaching a German version of Morgan and Devan how to run and sell licenses to the 150 possible gyms in Germany, for example. So we've got a lot, it's incredible to me, I don't really get it, but we've got a lot of international leads and traction, mostly from YouTube, honestly, from like all of our YouTube workouts. But we've had to say no to all of that because we want to just make sure that we're staying focused until, we have a fiduciary responsibility to all of you, right? To make sure that your gyms are operating at not just a successful clip, but the most successful clip, right? And so until that happens, I'm spending time on it, but relative to how much time I'm spending domestically, it's not even close.
Yeah, we've attempted to go to Canada twice, and I've pulled back each time. Because again, I want this team to stay focused on U.S. and.
This is why we make a good team.
Yeah, I gotta reel it in a
Keep
little.
trying to nudge you.
And I don't know if Canada is the best place to go. I think naturally that's what we think. But again, that's not really our expertise either. So it also involves bringing in the right people that have done it globally as well.
That makes sense.
We'll let you know.
Can you just clarify one thing? Sorry, getting to number 1, but you said exceeding the 500 limit, but we're at 515.
So that is
Open.
units awarded.
He means open.
Oh,
I mean open and
500
operating.
open, operating number 1. Got it.
Mhm.
Okay.
150 to go. Some of you are in here going to cut that down
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
for sure.
Cool. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bill,
absolutely.
for sure.
I can't get up, Billy.
You got leg day vibes?
I got you.
I feel you.
Billy Haynes, Burn Boot Camp, Denver and Pineville, NC, and then Carrollwood, Florida. Also on expansion, but maybe a much smaller level. How you guys had Cornelius and Huntersville, and then went Denver, Concord, Mooresville, Matthews, on and on. And then you've also probably done the same thing in Utah, 1, then 2, then 3, and on and on. If there's anyone in the room that is interested in expanding, how profitable would you recommend them being, and for how long before they start to look at location number 2 or number 3? And I say profitable, not members, because we understand that
Right.
you can have a big gym but also have a big payroll and not move the needle that much. So for you guys who have done it, again, back in the day, and then also maybe even now in Utah, for people that are interested in that, how comfortable do you think you need to be before you make the leap? And it may not be that comfortable at all, but just your perspective.
I think that's a great question. When do you feel comfortable to expand your empire, I guess you could say? And I think it's got a lot of factors to it, right? Like, you're in 2 states, we're in 4 states. Our ideal model is people stay within like their region, right? So they don't become too remote. We can define remote a little bit differently sometimes, just depending on the situation. So I think that's just one factor, is if you're still going to be within your market and you have the ability to still pour into number 2, right? Some people maintain a full-time job. Some people don't. So like, those are all things that I think.
Some people also have ran 25 Bojangles before, or whatever, or ran Northwestern Mutual, and they've been there, done that. So it's depending on the
dependent,
scenario.
I think, a lot on the franchise partner. It's dependent on what their situation is, of how much additional time they have to spend on their burn business, if it's their sole business. I think personally, yes, you need to be able to financially support number 1 in a comfortable position before you go invest in number 2. It also depends on what your financial situation is. What's your credit like? Can you go take a loan out? So it's very dependent, and I'm probably not answering it direct. But I know for us, we wanted to go out to Utah and open 10, and we didn't open 10 because we got some slow starters, and we're not comfortable taking that big of a risk on more before we start to see growth in the current ones. So even us, we're not trying to be too aggressive, where we feel like we can scale it, because there's times where you can scale too quickly and you don't have the infrastructure or the finances to back it up, and that's when things crumble. So I would say not only is it a financial thing, but it's also a leadership thing. Like, is your team ready to expand? Are you ready to add in more people, and are you ready as a FP to lead that many more people? Because it's a different story going from 1 to 2 and even 2 to 4. Because
having the
it
burn
becomes a
operating,
bigger enterprise.
Having the burn operating system dialed in at one location is definitely a prerequisite. And I think the next thing that comes to my mind is, just generally speaking, would be that if business is becoming more profitable for you, whatever business means, if it's becoming more profitable and easier simultaneously, that's a good proxy. If you sit back one day and you're like, holy shit, I just had a fantastic month and I didn't have a lot to do, right? Or why I wasn't necessary, but these are things, that to me is when my risk tolerance gets at an all-time peak. It's when, hey, things are going smooth, profit margins are big, now we go take more risk. Now that's just my tolerance too, though. So there's some
Especially for
people
Utah,
that,
I think it's important that you say, we wanted to do 10. We had dreams of 10, and then
Yeah.
it was only 6, and that's
Yeah.
coming from you guys and all the resources you have.
Yep.
So I think that's
And,
good.
and also being in 4 states is challenging.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
It's our innovation labs.
Yeah.
We love our HQ gyms. They're
Yeah,
doing
no,
great.
absolutely.
They're doing great. We've learned so much. Like I love it because it's unique. We get to stay boots on the ground.
Yeah.
We have 2 layers in between us, so we're not doing all the boots on the ground stuff, but we know the biggest problems from those gyms, member complaints, things like that. We hear all of those. Okay, so we have something special that we wanted to do before we wrap up. You guys all know how important our communities are to us, the communities that we serve. We don't just step up and open a burn boot camp in in a town or a community or whatever you'd like to call your area, but we open up a burn boot camp to make that community better and to add more value to that community than anybody ever expects us to. And one of the ways that we do that is through our philanthropic endeavors. There's 2 of them. Morgan, why don't you explain what they are?
Yeah, so our first one is the MDA. They've been one of our longest national philanthropy partners. That started back before we were franchised. Devin and I met up with the MDA, and ultimately it was about being their muscle, right? That's the campaign that we run, and the MDA impacts, not just children, adults too, but we really lean into the children that are impacted by muscular dystrophy, and they can't use their muscles the way that most of us can, right? And so that's our first partnership. Our second one is with the LLS, so Lymphoma and Leukemia Society. This one was, near and dear to our hearts. We had a member who was part of Huntersville, who her husband died of blood cancer and left behind, 2 young boys. She became a single mom. It's very similar to my story growing up, losing my father. So years went by, and we always supported her locally, but years went by. We met with the LLS, and 1 in 4 people are diagnosed with blood cancer, right? So that got me thinking that, as big as Burn Nation is, we all know somebody that's impacted by blood cancer. So that is a new partnership that we've added this year. And so we have raised millions of dollars for both of the organizations.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I'm very, very proud of. But there's one person in the room that has really led the charge on raising a lot of money. So these are some plaques
There's 8
here
of these, and
that
they all go to one person.
that we are all, yes, 8 plaques, 8 locations that have been in our been part of our top fundraising teams for last year. So Chelsea and the St. Louis crew, congratulations.
Congratulations. AKA Philanthropy Queen.
Yes. So this is just a small token of
I'll take
our
the
appreciation
hardware
at
to her.
Burn HQ for you guys to be able to put these up in your locations for all of the hard work
Here.
we did last
You're
year.
going to need another suitcase.
Yes.
And sorry for not just shipping these, but I thought this would be way more sentimental, like in the moment. Like you got a lot, so congratulations. We
Yes.
appreciate you.
Yes.
You're-
Thanks, Chelsea.
If you guys ever want to model how to run a Be Their Muscle or
No,
Be
you're
Their
good.
Hero event, you need to look at St. Louis because they just blow it out of the water every year. There's like this iconic picture of all of them, and there'd be the muscle shirts under the arch, and I think it was the very first one that you guys did. That's just like a classic. That was the moment in time where I was like, "Wow, we're doing a lot of good," And everybody was so impressed with your initial run into that, and so clearly, the Philanthropy Queen is just stacking up hardware.
This means a lot. Thank you guys.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Appreciate
Congrats.
that. I hold it near and dear to my heart. I was a part of, I don't know if it was the first one or definitely the second one
Yeah.
of the MDA, and I remember, I forget his name now, but I remember.
Bryson.
Yeah, Bryson, that's right. I remember talking to him, and I was touched. I really was, and I felt like this opportunity is such a privilege in the position that we are as franchise partners. We have such a special platform to make an impact, and I appreciate the ability to have that platform to make an impact locally. So thank you.
Taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, I am.
2 claps on 2 for Chelsea. 1,
Yes.
2.